Sure. Okay, here.
So I'm like trying to figure that out. Process.
I have some advice for you. So, I think you should adopt the philosophy of nihilism. I was actually able to cure my depression due to nihilism. It's the recognition that nothing matters.
Why does eating meat matter?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, but
And
it does.
if you
It
would
does matter.
internalize-
It does emotionally. It has
No,
an
it
impact. It does to the person emotionally.
Bombing.
So, I don't know why we
Destiny.
care.
Okay, what's up? What do you want?
Do you want to just do dinner and actually like give me real advice and talk like as friends? Or do you want to do it for content?
You know, I'm a content-driven guy. No, we can do dinner if you want. Yeah, the only problem is I wouldn't be able to do it until like next month because my kid's here until the 28th.
Oh my god.
What? Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, you can just type messages to me and I can type back. But it's probably gonna be the same shit I've said in the past. It's probably gonna be the exact same shit. But
No, it's not. It's not about that. It's more about like my perspective of whether or not like I'm not healthily thinking about things, or like I guess like I'm kind of feeling like the way that I'm thinking about things is like I'm accepting a narrative that in one sense like he's telling me I'm lying to myself because I want to believe that he didn't care about me and gave up too easily and stuff like that. And like I'm just trying to figure out like if I'm not like am I actually not thinking healthily about things for my process to like let go? Like is that an unhealthy way to try to let go?
do you have somebody that you
It's
trust
like-
to give you feedback on your thought process?
I've been talking to my therapist. That part I have, but even then, like, I mean, that's still relatively new.
Okay. I mean, that's basically what you need. Is you need a friend or a therapist that you can trust to give you feedback on your thought process, who will give you honest information and not just simp for you. But this requires you to also be soliciting honest information and to be receptive to honest information. I don't know. I don't think we've had very many critical conversations, so I can't say. But I don't. If you are cutting out people that are telling you things you don't want to hear, and you're hunting for certain opinions, then you're never going to get good feedback on your thought process, and you're just going to constantly be upset unless you're getting what you want from whoever that you're arguing with. I'm not saying that you do that. I'm just saying that that's a thing that a lot of people run into.
Right. Yeah. Cause like I wanted to rant and vent, but then I was like, that's why I told you like we could chat privately. I'd rather just message you and not do the whole
Sure.
whatever. Cause I have stuff that I actually am gonna like want to tell you and get your honest feedback, like of my actions alone, just like and how I'm like perceiving things or whatever. So like, yeah, if you're down when you're not busy, like I'll type it out. I'll make it make sense and then get your feedback that way instead of just like crying on your stream.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I will say that like when you write stuff down, like this is the process, okay, that I would go through. All right, if I were you, okay? If you have a particular thing that you want to talk to somebody about, okay. So first you think like, okay, I want to solicit feedback from this person. I need them to talk about a particular thing. Okay. So write down your thoughts that you want feedback on, okay, from the person. Oh, I'm writing this down here. Okay. Write down your thoughts, you know, whatever it is that you want to talk about or get feedback on. Okay. Once you've written that down, all right, stop and look at it and read it and ask yourself two questions. Or it's one question, okay? What are you looking to get from asking for that feedback? Because another trap that people will fall into is like, here's two ways that a conversation could go, okay? Hey, I want to talk to you. I'm trying to get some feedback. And then person's like, okay, yeah, what's up? Okay, well, it's about my friend. Okay, yeah, talk to me. Okay, so every single time my friend comes over, he throws shit all over my apartment and he takes shits in the toilet and he doesn't flush and he throws stuff at my cat and he hurts my cat and I'm upset by this. Do you think I'm right to be upset? those types of conversations are completely unproductive and totally not helpful, because all you're doing is basically ranting out a whole list of issues with the other person, and you're looking for validation in your feelings.
Validation,
Yeah.
right.
There's nothing wrong with validation, but you have to understand that validation is just there to make you feel better. It can help you cope with things. It can help you, shore up, like if you're like mentally distraught for a moment, or if you're having trouble accepting that you're even feeling a particular thing. Like, it's okay to sit there and validate your feelings for a bit. But if don't seek critical feedback from people and confuse validation with critical feedback. If you're ranting about somebody and all you're doing is giving all the bad things they've done, and you're just asking if your feelings are justified, all you're looking for is validation. That's not feedback. Yeah. If you are writing problems, ideally, once you've written it out, what you're looking for is like, hey, what are the mistakes that you think I made here, and how can I avoid these in the future? That's what you should be looking for. Yeah. But usually 99% of the time, I don't know if you're going to do this, but usually what people are doing is they're looking to list problems, and they're looking for you to give them like, hey, like, what can I do to make this thing still work? Or like, I understand that these are happening, but like, this is like his problem, right? But I can change this so that we can still like work and we can still do this or whatever. Usually people are just like looking for a way back to whatever they left, and that's the only reason they're doing it.
Yeah, I feel like the thing that you just said right before that last part is close to like where my mindset keeps going to, is like constantly looking for a way to figure out how can I fix this situation, even though it's like obvious there shouldn't be a situation anymore. I shouldn't hold on to like that thought. I shouldn't want that anymore. And then I feel like, am I seeking like that validation, or like that I want the majority of people to agree with me that, oh no, I wasn't loved, therefore it makes sense for me to be like, I don't want it anymore, and to move on. Versus if I accept like, oh, I was loved, then I think that hurts me more, because it's like I feel like I failed at something, or I did something wrong and I lost somebody that I cared about.
Sure. Okay. Here.
So I'm like trying to figure that out and process that.
Sure. Trying to figure it out and process it is a lot different than trying to like make rapid fire changes, so that you can like move on to, or so that you can, sorry, what do you want, vegan games?
Oh, I just thought I could add to the conversation to help Xena.
Sure. Okay. Let me just finish up real quick and some random stuff. Okay. Here, when it comes to leaving past relationships, Xena, these are three broad pieces of information that I think are true for all people. Some people might disagree with me. I think those people are young or misinformed. I feel very strongly about all three things I'm about to say, okay? So take it or leave it, but you'll never change my mind on these, okay? So, number one, okay, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're the only one pouring a lot into a relationship, then it's probably not a good situation. It can't be on one person to make a relationship survive. Even if the relationship ends up working out at periods of time, nobody wants to be in a relationship where they're the only one trying. And when the relationship ever flips in terms of like you getting upset over something, you're going to constantly be in like a pursuer-evader dynamic, where as soon as you have a problem, the other person wants to split, meaning that you're going to be held hostage basically to their emotional whims at all points in the relationship. You're going to be on their time frame. You're going to be on their emotional schedule. You're not going to be able to ever have a problem or express a concern of your own, because that person's always going to ditch, because they only want to be with you when you're trying like at 1,000,000% to make the relationship work. Okay. Number one, you understand that?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Okay. Don't be stuck in those situations. Okay. Number one. Okay. Number two is, if you find that you are pouring a ton of work into a relationship constantly over stressing and fighting and resolving disputes and blah, blah, blah. But like afterwards, like things are okay. Don't do that. Like, you don't want to throw so much effort into a relationship just to build it up to normal, okay? All that energy could be going towards making a healthy relationship so much more fun. You don't want to be dumping all of that energy just to make a relationship not want to make you kill yourself. It's such a waste of energy. There are so many more productive relationships to pour your time and energy into, okay?
Yes.
Number two. And then number three, you may or may not believe this right now. I don't know. If you don't believe me now, then you can waste 10 years of your life and you'll come to learn it eventually. Okay. Personally, all right, there are no near misses ever. Near misses do not happen in relationships. If two people really want to be together and there's like a strong desire to make that happen, it will happen. Barring some exceptional circumstance, like somebody dies of cancer, or people have to leave maybe for college, or they get like abducted by a kidnapper. If two people really want to make a relationship work, both sides will find ways to contribute to make it work. If you're leaving this, because it usually happens when they're falling apart, especially when one person feels like they're pouring so much effort into it, usually what happens is the biggest reason you're mind yourself is because you're like, fuck, like when it works, it's so good and that's fine. And like we're so close to making it work and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not true. If that was the case, you should be able to leave or pull back, and the other person should chase a lot as well. Not just in exceptional times where I'm loading this a lot, but sometimes people feel like,
listening.
sure. Sometimes people feel like when they're being emotional or vulnerable to a partner and they're getting a better response out of their partner, they might think that, well, when I'm showing more or when I'm making this clear, like my partner is like, he does love me and he's willing to put this, blah, blah, blah. In reality, you're probably just putting them into like appeasement mode where they're panicking and they see you having like an emotional response, like, fuck, like, okay, yeah, I love you. It's okay. We'll do this, blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right. So you get into this like super negative death spiral of, anytime you're not like super emotional, they're not giving you exactly what you want. Anytime you express a problem, they want to pull back, causing you to show more like vulnerability or big emotions, which is basically like manipulating them into coming back and appeasing you and then getting things back to neutral. This is like a death spiral that you don't want to be stuck in. So if like two people like have a bunch in common or enough to like make a relationship really work, these relationships are never going to not happen just because one side just didn't push quite hard enough. They're probably not happening because there's a whole bunch of reasons why they shouldn't happen. And the only way they would ever work is if one side forces it super hard, which is miserable for a whole bunch of other reasons, I would say. Those are 3 pieces of advice that I think applies to every single like ending relationship. Basically, there are no near misses in relationships. Don't think of it that way. It just wouldn't. That's not the case. There's not a near miss. Otherwise, the other side would be putting way more effort in. Don't be putting all the effort into the relationship. You're just one person. Don't ever be in an unbalanced circumstance like that. It's bad for your mental health and it leads to a bunch of other external negative things happening. And don't be dumping a bunch of energy into a relationship that you're putting all this energy just to make it so you guys don't hate each other and you're bringing it like back to neutral. Don't do that either. You'd rather dump the energy into something more healthy. Those are the 3 things I say are generally true.
That kind of sounds exactly like what I'm feeling or going through, honestly. So I hear you.
Yeah, well, talk to somebody and you should write down like strict like borders. I think it's good to like attach like time constraints. Like don't say I'm not going to talk to this person anymore. And then like not.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing and that's what he's doing, and I think he's going to stick to that, which is good and that's healthy. Like,
yeah, but it can't be like
my mom about it, and she was saying too, like sometimes when you care about someone, you do have to walk away, especially for your own mental health. So he is making a right decision when it comes to that, so that we're not trapped in this. But like for me, obviously, it's hard for me to even like get to the point where I can actually like block him, and then I get stuck in this like spiral where it's like he'll write me a big paragraph like apologetic thing and then be like, I'm blocking you so you don't have to respond, and it's like he writes all this stuff and then blocks me, and so then I'm stuck with this feeling like I have to somehow reach out because I want to reply, and I have to get rid of like not doing that. Like I have to stop feeling that way as well. Like I have to figure out a way that's going to make me able to let go. And I don't want to let go because I hate this person, so I don't, but I also do want to like think of it as honest or as real as I can, like about like you said, like if one person's putting the majority of their energy into a relationship and the other person's not, then it's just that they don't want to be together type thing.
I have some advice for you. So, I think you should adopt the philosophy of nihilism. I was actually able to cure my depression due to nihilism. It's the recognition that nothing matters. All suffering, and I'm not talking about pain, I'm talking about suffering, which is a distinct thing. Nihilism can't remove any pain. If you stub your toe, it's going to hurt, obviously. But suffering is a different thing. I think the best way I can explain it is pain is the feeling of stubbing your toe. Suffering is the mental state you get into where you are sad about stubbing your toe. You're miserating about stubbing your toe. You're asking, why the hell did this have to happen to me? If you recognize that nothing matters, love doesn't matter, peace doesn't matter, happiness doesn't matter, suffering doesn't matter, your family doesn't matter, nothing matters, that allows you to make an actual conscious decision to choose your feelings. The only
But
reason
if
I
nothing
can
matters, then my feelings wouldn't matter either to
That's
choose
right.
my feelings.
Well, that's right. Your feelings don't matter. But your feelings do have a clear benefit towards you. It is true that there is no value, there is no meaning, but we can say descriptively that certain feelings do have a benefit to a conscious being. Feeling happy has a benefit to a conscious being. That's a descriptive claim. If you recognize that nothing matters, no people in your life matter, life is just, it's really just a stupid game. What is the point of miserating about anything? What is the point about saying, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why are they treating me this way? It's an acceptance of the state of reality, and it's also a recognition that you can choose to feel a certain way. Like, let me give you an example. I'm sure you've seen, like, channels on Reddit like r/public freakout. You'll see arguments people are having where they're ridiculous arguments, road rage, and you laugh at it. It's funny. Why is it funny? It's because you're not a part of the problem, and when you take a look back and you can see this whole circumstance, there's no reason why they're fighting. They could have just gone about their day and nothing happened and everybody would have been happy, but they choose to have the stupid, pointless argument, and here you are laughing about it. But for some reason, when something like that happens to you, where somebody cuts you off, you pull over, you'll start screaming, you'll start getting angry. There's no difference between these two situations, but you've actually made a conscious decision to make it matter. It matters that you're in the right. It matters that that person cut you off. You did nothing wrong. It matters what that person feels. You have to convince them that they're in the wrong. And that's creating the suffering. If you would, like, you can look at all these interactions kind of like rain hitting the water. Rain will hit the water and it will cause ripples. These ripples will interact with other ripples, and you'll see this massive amount of turbulence in the water. What is stopping you from just being a rock in the water where ripples just bounce off of? If you could have an outlook on life where you could just look at these, like every circumstance that's happening to you, you had an outlook on life the same way as when you look at these like Reddit posts on r/freakout. If you had that same mentality, none of this matters. This argument is pointless. It's all stupid. You can just choose to laugh at it.
Why does eating meat matter?
Well, I'm not saying it does matter. I have a certain set of preferences that I would prefer to see in the world, but I'm not making a claim that it matters. I'm just saying that I have a certain set of preferences that I'd like to see. And nihilism doesn't mean that you don't have certain preferences. You're going to have a preference to sleep in a warm bed versus a cold floor.
Well, I feel like it would be more of a feeling because you're pretty passionate.
Okay, wait, hold on, wait, before we go down. Okay, wait, hold on, because I don't.
Well,
I don't,
we shouldn't get into this argument.
Yeah, I don't want to do.
This is an important.
This is just wait, as a quick thing, because I don't have much time left. Okay, because just as a quick thing. Okay, and then you guys can hash as much as you want to talk about nihilism. Okay.
Yeah.
Xena, the way that you phrase things and the way that you talk, this is an impossible thing to communicate because it's an emotional hurdle that you have to jump over. Is when you're talking about working on yourself or responding to things, okay? You cannot orient yourself emotionally through space and time like you're doing things with the goal or purpose of getting back together with the old relationship. That can't be the case because you're setting yourself up for destruction and you are not setting yourself up for success in any future interaction. So for instance, if you're like, after a relationship like this fails, the thought should be, what kind of energy am I putting out and why am I entering relationships that aren't working for me? Like, what do I need to change? And then you make those changes. It shouldn't be, if I make these changes, I can make that old relationship work again. Because when you say things like, well, if he sends me a message and blocks me, I have like a compulsion to go and message him on other platforms. Like, that doesn't sound like like, oh, I'm over this and I'm good. That sounds like if I just can argue this one point successfully, if I can just get this one thing like correct, like he'll see that I'm right and then he'll put in effort and make this work and blah 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 blah. And that's not.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Well, look, this I'm explaining the root of the problem. The solution to this is nihilism. She's looking at things with this lens that all these things matter. Her relationship with this specific person matters. Things have to work out in a certain way. If you recognize that none of this matters, you can make a conscious choice and make decisions that just benefit you.
Yeah, that might be the case, but I think this is like a whole change philosophically in mindset.
Yeah, and it's probably too much for me to like really.
Well, it's something that you have to work on.
Understand at this point.
Yeah, but I don't think I would
my
like.
issue is more so.
I
wouldn't
what
recommend
Destiny said. It is very much that issue. Exactly what he said is spot on. Everything Destiny said is spot on. I do get to that point where I'm like, if I could argue this or make this point, then I could fix everything and restore what I've wanted. And that's the point that I'm trying to get rid of. I'm trying to get past that point.
Yeah.
I'm at this stage where, for example, the loss of this relationship affects me and hurts me, and I feel pain for it. And then it hurts me when I feel like the person that I'm losing does not feel that pain and is not suffering in the way that I am suffering.
Yeah.
And so then I get in this loop where it's like, can I fix this? Can I make this person still care about me?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
Well, but it does. It does matter. It does emotionally. It has an impact. It does to the person emotionally, right? They can't choose to just not have that emotional feeling. That's like a whole...
no, you can.
And I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 1, and I'm unmedicated.
Right, and I'm telling you, if you use these mindfulness techniques and you internalize nihilism, you can eliminate all of the suffering from your life. Like, look, somebody can tell you that, okay, this is exactly what you should do. You should stop messaging this person. You should just never make sure that they never message you or you never look at their messages. It doesn't solve the problem of your mindset that is creating the issue, and it's never going to be solved unless you fundamentally change that mindset. So, like, it doesn't matter. And I don't think you could make an argument for why it matters. It's impossible. The only truth is nihilism.
Emotional and chemical.
It doesn't matter.
Emotional attachment, chemical brain makeup, like, that's why it technically matters. I understand like what you're saying philosophically, like in the end none of this matters. We're all going to die and this is all just going to be a distant memory nobody's ever going to remember. I get that. But in this moment, I am here, I am conscious, I'm a human being, I have a lot of emotions, and I have a chemical imbalance in my brain. I have bipolar type 1 and ADHD. So for me, it matters, and it matters a lot.
Two things to point out here. You're not a slave to the chemistry in your brain. You can find associations between certain brain states and certain emotions, but they're not perfect associations. There are people with very low serotonin activity in their brain, which should correlate to depression, but they're massively happy. There's something about consciousness that is not necessarily a slave to some sort of chemical state in the brain. There are clearly different mindsets and attitudes that you can adopt that prevent those feelings. Secondly, I don't think you can even characterize bipolar disorder as a chemical imbalance in the brain. That could be caused by a number of things. That could be caused by poor upbringing, where you're never taught how to emotionally regulate. There could be a number of causes. And again, you're only exacerbating the problem by convincing yourself there's no way I can think any differently. There absolutely is a way for you to think differently, and it's something that you have to work on. Like, how are you benefiting yourself by, like if Destiny were to tell you, okay, well, there's no way you're ever going to get over this person. There's no way you're never going to be able to block this person. It's just your brain chemistry that's imbalanced. There's no way you can ever think differently, so you should just continue to, like, pursue this person, keep trying to make the relationship work, because there's some sort of brain chemistry that will forever link you to this person and you'll never be able to get over them. Like, is that going to help you? Or do you recognize...
what Destiny was saying was valid in the sense of he wasn't saying it was necessarily the person, but more so my own inner issues that I'm dealing with. It's my own denial of my own self-worth that's the struggle. It's not necessarily the lack of the other person or what they did or didn't do. It's more so what I felt I needed for me. So it's inner. It's all about, like, it is about what my inner issues is and what I'm struggling with for my own self-value and what I feel I lacked. And that's where the issues are coming from.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's
right.
not
Wait.
about-
Okay, wait, hold on. Also, listen, if you want to talk to her afterwards about all this, you can do that. I don't have much time left, and I got to run through my shit real quick. Okay. But then afterwards, you
Yeah,
can message
sure.
her.
If
Yeah.
you could finish reacting to the video.
I'll do that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Yep. Okay. All right. Sorry. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I would make a couple different assumptions. Okay. The first thing I would assume, all right, is you are a slave to the chemistry in your brain. When I say that, what I mean is that right now there are certain things that you see, and there are certain things that you like can be exposed to. There's perceptions that you can have, okay, that will induce huge emotions in your brain, okay? Anything having to do with the person you're trying to get over. So that might be them messaging you. It might be seeing their stream go live and you get a notification. It might be seeing somebody else bring their name up. These are things that will induce a massive emotional response in you. It always does when you're like in the process of separating from somebody, okay? Number one, that's important to keep in mind, okay? Do not ever bullshit yourself into thinking that you are in direct control of how you emotionally respond to things. You are not. That is a delusion. And if you think that, you will never, ever, 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 ever get better at ever emotionally regulating yourself ever. Humans cannot do that, okay? What you can do is you can change the way that you respond to those feelings, and you can change the way that you, or you can change your exposure to those feelings, okay? So what you should do is if you're trying to separate from somebody, okay, what you should do is you should legitimately block everything and don't like have a compulsion. Don't have a compulsion. Stop responding to messages. Stop trying to justify or argue anything. Stop sending emails. Stop stalking on social media, whatever. So try to cut off as much content as you can. Okay. Number one. Okay. But understand that number two, you're going to have a compulsion to do it. You're going to want to do it. Okay. Right now, when you sound like you are of a sober state of mind, you sound like you're reasonable, you sound like you do it, okay? Have a friend that you write to, have somebody that can hold you accountable, message that person and say, me, I feel like he just went live. I think I want to go and watch and see what's going on. Or, oh, I think he's talking to some chick. I'm going to message her. Or, oh, I just saw him on Twitter. Anytime you have a feeling, either find a person that you know, they can hold you accountable, message them, and they're like, hey, okay, well, don't be a dumb bitch. Let's fucking go get drinks. Or let's play fucking Valorant. Or let's just call and chat for like 20 minutes, okay? The first week or two of this is always the hardest, okay? It only gets easier after the first week or two. It never gets worse after 2 weeks. It's never the case that somebody tells you, man, when I broke up with my partner and everything, and oh God, it was so horrible and painful after 2 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, it got real bad. No, it's always the worst right at the start when you realize that it's happened and it's over or whatever. And from there, it only gets better. But every single time you re-engage, you're resetting your emotional counter every single time. So if it's really bad for a week, and then 2 weeks, and then in the third week, it's kind of better, and in the fourth week, it's a little better, and then after like 6 weeks, you're like, oh, I'm going to chat with them again or whatever. When you chat with them again, you're going back to day zero. Every single time, that is unavoidable. That only changes after you're completely over it, not in 6 weeks, not in 2 months, not when you think you've changed to a level, well, now he'll accept, but when you're like, I don't even know, the true marker, I'll tell you this, but you have to be able to not bullshit yourself when you think about this. The true marker is you should be able to say in your mind, if this person would have messaged me again and say, hey, I think I want to try again, would I immediately jump to them or would I say, I don't know, let me think about it? Until you can honestly answer in the latter, you're not ready to re-engage with this person, okay? So that's the first thing, okay? Is understand, that you are going to have stupid, crazy emotional responses to things. You can't control it. Don't bullshit yourself into thinking it. Find a friend to hold you accountable, okay? Message that friend when you have those things and don't act on those compulsions. Every single time you act on the compulsion, you're resetting yourself to day zero and you're going to loop this over and over and over and over and over again, okay? And what you have to do also, okay, is you right now, okay, you have to write this down right now to do it, okay? Because when you are in a certain emotional state of mind, you can bullshit yourself into literally fucking anything, okay? No matter what, if you don't have a plan prior to a certain emotional state, you will tell yourself lies to convince you that it's okay. I can just watch this one stream. It's not going to be a big deal. I'm not even paying attention right now. I've got something else going on in the background. I can message this person. Like, we've got mutual friends anyway. It's fine. Like, you will always find reasons to bullshit yourself to do the thing that you want to do for other reasons. Yes. Okay. So, and then the final thing I would recommend, okay, is if you f up, okay, every time you f up, write down how you feel after you f up. And anytime you successfully avert giving into one of those compulsions, write down how you feel after a compulsion. Because if you don't have a friend that you can message, or if you don't have somebody to hold you accountable, sometimes it's nice to open like a notepad on your computer and you're like, fuck, I really want to look. Okay, well, the last 10 times I messaged this guy or did this, I can see that every single fucking time afterwards for the next like 3 days, I'm a mess. And here I've got on this notepad, every single time I went out for drinks, I hung out with a friend, I played a video game, I watched a movie, on all of these, on every single one, I felt better afterwards. Because I'm telling you, you will every single time. It might not emotionally feel that way, but that is what will happen. Every single time, there is never, ever, ever in the history of all of relationships has somebody said, yeah, when I started to get over that person, there was one time where like their thing popped up and I wanted to check their post and I didn't end up checking their post and I watched a movie instead. And afterwards I realized like, I should have been obsessing over my ex instead. So that will never, ever, ever happen to you. Okay. Those are the things that I would, that's what I would say. You either implement these or you don't. If you don't, you will loop and lap this and you will be 45 years old and you will have the exact same problem and you'll cry because you haven't fixed it. And this will continue to happen forever. That's at the end of the day, you're the only one that can make the decision, but you have to like implement the tools. You have to do the tools. Okay. Because your brain is retarded. All of life, the smartest people on the planet, okay? The only reason why they're smarter than other people is because they are aware of how horrible their mind is, okay? And all they've done is they spent all this time in the world putting themselves in the right environments, giving themselves the right people to bounce ideas after, and building the right cognitive toolset to counter the absolute distortions that your mind will create when you want emotionally a particular thing, okay? Don't trust yourself, don't trust your brain. Figure out tools, write shit down, find a friend to hold you accountable, and write down your emotions after all these things to try to remind yourself, okay? That's what I recommend, all right?
Thank you, Destiny.
Good luck. Also, if that doesn't work,
Try
nihilism, okay? Good luck.
Yeah, I will try nihilism if it doesn't work. Thanks, Destiny.
Good luck. Validating these feelings are the only way to progress there. You did well. Big D, more of that. I'm going to big D, yo mama. A quick thing. I think that was the Gaza Media Office, not the Health Ministry. The Gaza Media Office was relying on like sketchy media reports, but I think the Gaza Health Ministry will still rely on reports from family members. Not that that's bad, by the way. Please don't misunderstand that I'm saying that like that's a horrible way to do it. And in times of war, especially when a lot of your hospital infrastructure shut down, that's a totally acceptable way of trying to think of like, okay, well, these people are missing, they could be dead. Like you don't have like a body and everything. That's not the worst thing ever. But what was I saying? Validating emotions. It's okay to feel a response to something, even if you made mistakes and you fucked up and you're doing the bad actions. It's okay to take a moment sometimes and like accept the fact that it's okay to feel a particular way, right? Let's say that how to say this? Let's say that you stole from like a store, you stole $1,000, you got caught, you got arrested, and you go to prison, and there's like some emotional issue here where you're like, so stupid, like I can't even be mad, like my life, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, depending on the blocks you have, it's okay to sit down for a moment and be like, you know what, I did up, I am imprisoned, I've got a criminal record, whatever the fuck, but like, it's okay to feel horrible about that. It's okay to feel like it's okay to sit with the feeling for a little bit. Just don't get mindful, because so many, especially women with psychology terms, I'm not even referring to Xena here, just in general. Women have taken psychology terms, and now it's like validating feelings becomes synonymous with justifying your actions. And those two things are worlds apart. Validating an emotion just means that it's okay as a human being, if you have an emotional response to something, you don't have to judge yourself for the emotion. You judge yourself for your actions, okay? If your wife wakes you up in the middle of the night over some autistic, retarded shit, okay? It's okay to feel upset. It's not okay to beat the shit out of her, all right? Depending on what she woke you up for, right? So validate your feelings. Don't Don't confuse validating your feelings with justifying your actions, which a lot of people do, okay? And then the reason why you validate a feeling and you understand why it's okay to feel a particular way is because then you can move on to changing the environment so that you have different feelings because now you have different stimuli, okay? Don't ever mind yourself into thinking that you can think your way out of an emotional problem. If you could think your way out of an emotional problem, you wouldn't have had the emotional problem to begin with, and you would not be a human being. You would be a robot. It doesn't work that way.
So you're not smart. You're not smart enough to know what normalization means.
Remember, if you could think your way out of emotional problems, we wouldn't have emotions. We would just have thoughts, right? Emotions serve as a shortcut, not even a shortcut. Emotions work at a much more baser fundamental thing. And these things are driven by hormones and other physiological factors that are sometimes outside of your control. Like, yeah, don't mind yourself into that. What did he call him? A vegan? Is that what he called him? Wants us to watch this.
Two, are babies indoctrinated into Hamas? Do they have a choice? Fuck.
So, again, if you look at... So, like I was saying, if you're going to claim they're indiscriminately bombing, we can actually look at...
Show you why. I'm about to back that claim because you're going to see rubble.
Okay, can you let me talk, please?
Go for it, buddy.
So, if you're going to claim they're indiscriminately bombing, we can cross-reference this with other data of indiscriminate bombings. And we can look at civilian to fighter casualty ratios.
No, let's do the math, bro. Let's do the math. Let's take a look.
You can look at civilian to fighter casualty ratios. So Dresden bombing, for instance, Hiroshima, you see civilian to fighter casualty ratios that are around 1 or below 1 in terms of risk ratio. So basically, for every like 99 civilians, like 1 fighter's killed. That's what you tend to see with indiscriminate bombing. When you look at the civilian to fighter casualty ratio,
would you say? Oh, I agree. Okay. Would you tend to say that you also see with indiscriminate bombing undue and complete destruction of infrastructure over a wide area? Would you say that's also an attribute that you would say applies to indiscriminate?
What is your takeaway from people being able to delude themselves into believing that they have a strong grasp on an issue? Well, it's funny because we ran to so many different places in that conversation, but one of the first things that we were going to go over was, I believe that the 2 big problems for the media, one is that issues have legitimately becoming more complicated, but 2 is that people are legitimately becoming less, it feels like less educated or less knowledgeable on things because of how we find information on the internet. Something that I would really like to know, because we can look at history through rose-tinted glasses. I'm curious. Okay, here's what I'm really curious about, okay? Were these videos consumed by ordinary working class Americans, or were these meant for like the upper class intellectual elite? Because like I've seen like old videos like this in 1937. It's explaining a differential, which is a fascinating piece of engineering in terms of how like gears plug into each other that allow what would seem like a simple operation that is actually really complicated, but then is actually solved very elegantly. Like there are these old black and white videos that explain things like these, and they explain these concepts really well. They don't treat you like a fucking retard. They do a really good job at like very simply breaking down the process, and they go step by step to construct like our modern understanding of like how how a differential works. I'm curious if like ordinary people consumed stuff like this and had like some kind of understanding, or maybe maybe I'm deluding myself and these things were just like consumed by super educated people or something. I don't know. I think another thing that an emailer brought up once, and I've talked to people about this, is I like this concept he brought up. He called it the magic box. And I think I agree with that as well. Have I ever read this email on stream, or have I only spoken about it? Basically, the idea is that back in the day, so like for instance, if you drive a manual car, you probably have a slightly better understanding of how a car works than if you drive an automatic car. Not like a hugely different understanding, but like if I were to try to explain like, oh, like what's the difference between like your transmission, or like if I were to bring up like, here's a powertrain and here's a drivetrain, and can you explain like how a transmission gets power from the powertrain to the drivetrain? If you drive a manual car, you can probably like put it together in your brain. Like, okay, well, when I'm driving my car and I spin the fucking engine and I see the RPMs go up and I have first gear, second gear, the gears get smaller to bigger. Yeah, okay. You basically are using gears to take the spin from the powertrain, and then somehow that's plugging into the wheels. I don't know how it sounds like, right? And you're like, oh, okay, sure. But if I were to ask somebody who drives an automatic car that, right? Can you explain like drivetrain, powertrain, and like transmission? How's the transmission connected to this thing? An automatic driver? I don't fucking know. I push the gas and the car goes. I don't fucking know, right? That as your technology becomes more and more and more abstracted and stuff becomes more complicated, rather than being a person who is operating things where you like kind of have, you got like some understanding of like what's going on in the device you operate, you're truly operating magic boxes. You have no fucking idea, right? Like I imagine that early automobile drivers, like it's weird. Early automobile drivers, my guess would be probably intuitively understood more principles of engineering and automobile operation than modern drivers, right? Just because a modern driver, I was gonna say you get in, you turn the key, you don't even turn the key, you get in the car, you push the button, and you push the gas and it just goes, it just works. Whereas for old cars, I'm sure, I even mentioned even mentioning manual, I don't even know if there were clutches on old cars. I think you just had to fucking shift like at the right RPM, and it was just like it was a whole ordeal, you know? I think there was just so much going on in older automobiles in terms of like how to operate them. But let me check actually, I'm not sure. Did the first automobiles have clutches? The first clutch was introduced in the 1920s, revolutionizing the way cars operated. Prior to clutches, cars used a direct drive system which made it difficult to start and stop the vehicle smoothly. The introduction of clutches allowed for smoother gear changes and improved driving experience. I don't remember how they did it, but it was like just even changing gears in a car was just unbelievably complicatedly fucking annoying. But I think even these first clutches might have been annoying as well. Yeah, I don't know. You could argue that people who specialize in different areas now, as I think young people are much more tech literate. Yeah, but there's a couple issues at hand now, though, right? The first issue is that now you have descriptively, you have less of an understanding of how things in the world work. Okay, descriptively, that's what's going on. So this leads to a couple problems. The first problem is you're more likely to assume a conspiracy. If I can't explain how a thing works, right, then I probably assume it's easier for me to read a conspiracy into things, right? Like a lot of people I think even still to today, most people believe that your phone is listening to you and modifying your search engine results off of hearing you speak about things. I think most consumers today believe that's true. There's no evidence for this ever. There's never been presented evidence of this ever being the case, but most people believe it. But why wouldn't you? You don't look at the telemetry of your fucking phone. You have no idea what the fuck it's actually doing. You have no clue, right? So yeah, sure. Why the fuck would it? Seems like it would. They'd make money doing it, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like as the technology becomes more abstracted, it's easier to read more conspiracies into things. And then also, I think you get a general lack of understanding in the world that also carries over to a ton of other like negative things as well. Like you might not understand, like if you don't understand how a particular thing is made, maybe you don't have an understanding of how it might like impact the environment, you know? This is kind of true of all technology though, right? Like the generation after farming was industrialized, had no idea how vegetables were actually grown. Yeah, it's true of all things. I'm just saying that as it becomes more and more and more abstracted, it becomes harder and harder for people to understand it. You can read more conspiracies into things. It's harder to regulate things. Yeah. The short film on the differential was made by the Jam Handy organization, which was tasked with making training films for the auto industry. Okay. We will watch the end of this because Vegan Games wants us to.
Care about buildings so much. I care more about people.
They have people in them, dumb fuck. They have people in them.
And Hamas also uses buildings. So did the Nazis.
I forgot. That's where they're forging aluminum. You're right.
So
weird.
So
you're a
if
weirdo.
so,
you care more about chicken and my chicken coop.
Can you let me finish, please?
I think you have finished, but you can go.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm out finished, but you can go.
So if we look at the civilian to fighter casualty ratios with the Israel invasion of Gaza, you're seeing risk ratios between 26 to about 47. That is well outside.
Why are we?
Sure.
Do you know the difference? Do you know the difference between normal and normalized?
What do you mean by that?
Well, these numbers, you're going to tell me that the civilian death counts, by the way, that Israel is giving you, by the way, without digging up the people that are under 17 tons of rubble that won't be found for months, right? But we're trusting those Israeli numbers, right? So that's what I'm asking you.
So
what is the difference? Hold on, let me finish. What is the difference between normal numbers of civilian casualties in a conflict like this and normalized numbers? Can you tell me the distinction?
I don't know what you mean by normalized.
Oh, by the way, a big prediction. A lot of people are saying, like, I think I've even said this, actually. I thought about this more. After the war ends, the casualty and the death rates are probably going to rise quite a bit because you're going to be digging people out of the rubble. My guess is actually after the conflict ends, the casualty numbers are either going to stay the same or probably fall, because right now the Gazan Health Ministry partially relies on media and missing persons reports to fill out like the number of dead. So if somebody's missing and they have big families over there, people are probably going to report it, and those are going to be like showing up in the casualty numbers. But if those people start showing up at the end or whatever, like the casualty numbers will stay the same because they won't change them or they'll fall. That'd be my guess. But I don't believe that there are all these thousands of people buried under the rubble that aren't being reported because the families should be reporting them missing. Would be my guess here. But do your dailies. I'm working on it. Okay. Get yourself into that.
I don't know what you mean by normalized.
So you're not smart enough to know what normalization means? You're a pretty smart guy. Sounds like a word
like,
you must have heard.
I just want to understand the proposition you're making.
Just on Israel, you don't know what I mean when I say the plain English word normalized? Just on Israel.
I have no idea what normalization of casualties means. Normalization? I hope he's not going to say, like, if we count, like, rate by month or something. I don't know.
Oh, if I said it was normalized, I bet if I'd said earlier, it's normalized to rape cows, you'd have been like, yep, you know what normalized meant then. But for some reason, we're talking IP and vegan gains.
Oh, normalized. Oh, like a behavior is made normal. Normalized is such a general word that I feel like that could mean anything. It could have had like a particular statistical interpretation, but okay.
Doesn't know what normalized means. You want to look it up yourself so we can move on, or you want to keep dithering about a word that you've used a million times?
Like what's the proposition?
The proposition is, what is the difference between you giving me a number and going, look, 17,000 casualties per square foot or whatever is normal for this type of fucking thing. It doesn't indicate, according to this, and this, indiscriminate bombing. I asked you to distinguish between normal and normalized because I don't think there's anything normal about baby parts being blown all over the city and the rubble and the destruction.
That probably is an incredibly normal thing in like military conflict. I'm sure children, babies, civilians, women, dogs, like people probably get blown up all the time. That's actually probably an incredibly normal part of military conflict, but unfortunately.
And the fucking bombing of people and nuking of people and all the shit that goes on in war, bro. All of it.
Okay, well, the proposition you made was that Israel is indiscriminately bombing.
I'm going to talk to you as a vegan. You called what was going on with cows a Holocaust earlier.
Yes.
Is there a Palestinian Holocaust happening right now?
No, there's not.
Bye.
There's a Hamas
Bye.
Holocaust.
Bye.
So
Weirdo.
I thought you wanted to have a
Bye.
discussion on this. Okay, I guess we're done.
Jesus.
Okay, I figured. All right, well, the point I was going to make that he didn't allow me to make was that if he's going to claim Israel is indiscriminately bombing, then we can cross-reference that.
Well, you got him.